Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon here. It's 1:16 in Yellowknife, and I'm Mike Filippetti, and I'd like to introduce Anton. I'll get him to introduce himself, and he's here to talk to us today about engaging students with Windows 11 and Microsoft 365. So I'm going to come off screen, and Anton, take it away.
All right, well, hello and good afternoon. It is 3:17 my time. I'm hearing a bit of feedback though. Is that from something else? Oh, there we go. Okay, so it's my end. There we go. So yeah, I'm located in the province of Quebec, and I hope that your afternoon has been going well so far, and that you've learned some new technological skills from some of the amazing presenters that we've had today, in person or online. So today what we're going to be focusing on is improving our skills in PowerPoint, using PowerPoint Live and the sweet tool of Rehearse with Coach. So the title of this workshop is Strengthening Your Microsoft 365 Muscles with the Help of Rehearse with Coach and PowerPoint Live. This is kind of a little bit of a play on, obviously, the Rehearse with Coach and a bit of fitness here. So, and the short link for this workshop is the cc.page/Microsoft 365 Muscles. I love the link that they gave me there for that. So props to those who made that one. Thank you, Michelle. Okay. So our team for today, obviously we have myself. My name is Anton Ryan. I am located in Quebec, Canada. My pronouns are he, him. You'll notice that I don't have a Treaty 7 or Treaty territory. We are an unceded territory here, people like Ganyegahaga, and we'll go through that in a sec. We also have Michelle Armstrong, who is the co-founder of the Cobblestone Collective in Calgary, Alberta. She'll be in here as well, helping out. And our awesome MC and moderator today, Mike Filippetti from Thunder Bay, Ontario. So before we begin this presentation, I'd like to take the time to acknowledge the land in which that we gather upon today, and it is the traditional lands where I am located of the Ganyegahaga people, so that's the Mohawk, and they are part of the Haudenosaunee, which is the Six Nations. So the Ganyegahaga are the people of the Flint and the keepers of the Eastern Door, excuse me. So right now, in terms of creating a personal land acknowledgement, I am in the process of learning and working on one through some self-reflection and obviously education. Acknowledgement is the first step, and this is an ongoing process. I'm very fortunate that the board in which I work at, we have two amazing Indigenous consultant and advisors that I get to work with on a daily basis, and they're fantastic to work with and learn together. So it is through that and learning together that my statement will continue to grow and change as we build this. There's also a great website here called native-land.ca to learn more information about which land you are located on. How are we doing over there in terms of sound and everything? Everything good?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Did you hear me previous or no?
Nope, did not hear you previously.
Okay, so yeah, everything is great here. Sound is good.
Okay.
And yep, we can hear you fine, see you fine too.
Perfect. So before we get into this as well, I work with the New Frontier School Board, and I'm part of the receipt, which you see on the other end here. That is the provincial group of consultants that work with technology in the province of Quebec. So I work in a school board that we have 12 schools, 3 centers, and we have English, French, and Indigenous populations as well. So it's very similar to the Yellowknife 1 district. I was kind of taking a look at the website earlier this morning, and we have a lot of things in common. So there's a lot of opportunity, obviously, for collaboration in the future. I think there's some really good stuff, especially looking at the vision statement, the focus on French as well, and French and immersion. And I saw that two schools, Range Lake and Mildred Hall, have a tech program built into their curriculum. So, and they also, one of them has a bike riding program. I'm totally jealous of that as well. So what are we looking at today in our workout? Well, we're going to get set up at PowerPoint. Then we're going to look at where we can find Coach in our PowerPoint. And then obviously our first exercise is that Coach has some tips for you to get started. Then Coach gives you the breakdown on that workout after you're done. Then we're going to jump into PowerPoint Live and Teams and how they're the perfect workout partner. And then last but not least, accessibility, no sweat, Microsoft 365 has got you and will spot you. Speaking of accessibility, within this presentation, so actually within the PowerPoint that was created and many of the Microsoft 365 tools, there's some fantastic accessibility tools built in. I won't dive into too many of them because Mike will be covering them on the next presentation. But the presentation from PowerPoint has descriptive text and colors that work well when you are working with a darker tint or high contrast colors. When you're using Teams and PowerPoint Live 2, you have the ability to use closed captions in a variety of different languages, as well as direct slide translations, which we'll go into today. So, where do we find Coach? So when we're using PowerPoint, there's two versions of it. We have the desktop version. So that's the one that when you open up your computer and you go through the desktop and you open up PowerPoint, that's the first version. And then we have the web-based version. So that's when you access it from using any tools of the Microsoft Suite from office.com. So there's a little bit of a difference between the two, but both of them have Rehearse with Coach built in. Just some of them have a bit of a couple of tweaks in between there. Is there anyone who's actually used Rehearse with Coach before? You can put it in the comments, or if there's anyone out there that has used it, I'd love to hear. Just wait a sec or two. Okay. So if no one's used it before, awesome. That means
Sorry.
that,
I was trying to type, but my typing came out all in Ojibwe syllabics from my previous presentation. I forgot
it's
to
all
turn
good.
the keyboard off. No one here has used it before, so I'm excited.
Okay. Is it a Microsoft board or Google board, or they're kind of a hybrid between the two?
It depends. So a lot of Google, but Microsoft as well. And I think, Madeline, you were transitioning from Microsoft and somewhat to Chromebook, but more experience from PC.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So that's what we're going to jump into, is obviously using Rehearse with Coach, and then what it can do for you in the classroom, which is it has a lot of really cool features. So let's get into that. So when you turn it on, Coach, what it'll start doing is it'll start to listen. So a couple of prompts will pop up. You'll have the ability to use your microphone, obviously, the camera, and then it'll ask you if you want real-time feedback. So when you click on that, and it'll start going, it'll immediately start the presentation, and you're starting your practice run through your presentation. As you're recording yourself and listening, these things pop up here, so we can kind of see our first little slide here where it says, try to avoid reading the slides and summarizing your key points. That's a big one for students, as well as we get that kind of jittery emotion where you want to just read everything that's on our slide deck. And this kind of gives you a little nudge like, oh, hey, try for a little bit of originality there. The middle one is the biggest one, and I think we're all guilty of it, myself included, is not using filler words like and ah and those kind of things. It'll pop up saying like, hey, you're using some filler words. Be careful of that. There's also pitch and intonation as well. So how much variety you're using in your words? Are you using, emphasis? Are you explaining a story with description instead of just staying flat and monotone as you talk? There's a ton of other things as well, like speed. So if you're talking too fast or talking too slow, it'll pick up that as well, and then give you kind of gentle reminders to, okay, bring the pace down a little bit so that your viewers have time to catch up, and or speed up a bit if you're talking a little bit too slow. This is new as of, I'd say, about a month ago, is that Coach can actually check your digital form as well. So this is new within PowerPoint Online. So this is using the online version as well. Is you can actually look at your body language. So when you're using Rehearse with Coach and you're doing any sort of recordings with maybe for asynchronous learning, or like I am right now, you can check off this nice little spot here where it says Rehearse with Coach and then body language. So then it's going to monitor what you're doing in terms of eye contact, obviously keeping a clear view of your face, especially when you're using a background as well. And then your distance from the camera, if it's consistent. So if you're going further back, side to side, or things like that, it's going to pick up on that as well. So that's a nice little feature as well that's built in. This just better helps our hybrid or online based learning, especially during this is a nice tool to have that as we kind of transition a little bit out of the pandemic and then into more of a classroom where we want to do more of this asynchronous presenting and planning of certain things for our students as well. Now here's the big part. The breakdown. So after you finish your presentation, you get a plethora of information about your presentation. And this is what I love about Rehearse with Coach, is the rehearsal report. So when you finish your report, when you finish your rehearsal online, it gives you a breakdown of all the data that you would need to know. How long you spent presenting, how many slides you went through, what your pace was. Was your pace in between that sweet spot of 100 to 150 words per minute? Was it too fast? Was it too slow? And it gives you a breakdown of your pace over time as well during the duration of you can maybe certain slides need a little bit more attention or certain aspects. You've got all the fillers. It'll pull all the data on how many filler words you used, what are your most consistent filler words, what words to change, and suggests potential changes, which is great. Obviously, originality, they'll give you some suggestions as well. If you're reading from your slides, wow, what it'll do is say, like, these are the slides that you copied the most from. Maybe you should use these words. Maybe you should try this, and give you suggestions as well. The other thing that's really neat is the sensitive phrases section. That's the bottom left-hand side there of the slide piece. Sensitive phrases, meaning trying to be as inclusive as possible. So not saying words like policeman, policewoman, garbage man, you name it, any sort of inclusive phrases. It'll pinpoint and listen for those and say, and give you suggestions as well. So saying, okay, guys, if we're, a big group, it'll say maybe you should include or think about these certain things. So fantastic tool. I can't say enough of good things about this tool here, using it in the classroom as a good way to practice a presentation, or even for yourself if you're practicing before submitting a couple of videos for students online or for your students online.
We have some questions.
Sure.
Do you know much about how it works in other languages?
So it works in various languages, English and French, no problem. That's for sure. I know certain indigenous languages, unfortunately, they don't have that there yet. I would love to see a partnership to see if we could pull and try to include more indigenous languages into this tool. But for the languages online, you can English and French, it's no sweat. It picks up very well between the two.
Great, thank you.
Perfect. That's right, because the Yellowknife district is, I think, the focus on French and immersion, so that's definitely a key tool for them as well. So within Teams, so if you're a Teams user as well, this is brand new as well, having Speak with Coach inside of Teams. So when you're presenting your slide deck on Teams and you're using PowerPoint Live, you can actually, when you share your content with PowerPoint Teams, you can select the presentation and then turn on Coach from the main screen. So while you're presenting to other educators, administrators, consultants, students, you can turn on Coach from your end, and it will give you the exact same reminders that it does in the PowerPoint presentation, but on Teams as you're presenting online. So this is a new tool that I've been experimenting with, and it's a nice way to kind of improve your presentation process within Teams. And exactly the same thing that they do inside of PowerPoint, well, they give it to you for Teams, and they leave it in the Teams chat as well. So you have a full-on breakdown of the speaking time, any repetitive language, your filler words, if you're using inclusive words, and a detailed report that's just for you. It's private. It's completely there for you, and a little spot for you to automatically turn it on in all your meetings as well. So this is kind of a new feature that's built into Teams. They're still in beta testing of it, but it's a great inclusion piece into the Microsoft Office family. So where would we use this? Well, the biggest thing that I've been using it with is having students do it before, just practicing in general. So if they create a presentation on PowerPoint, they use the coach in class. So they'll grab their laptops, plug in their headphones, find a quiet space. Maybe they need to go out in the hallway or into another section of the school, and then they just practice their presentation. And I found that this helps reduce the stress because it gives them real-time feedback. You're getting all these little pop-ups that tell you, what words you're using, if you're going too fast, if you're going too slow, how your pitch is and your intonation, all those things like that. It is an awesome self-evaluation tool. So having the students learn about a screenshot, taking a screenshot of something, and they can do a before and after. So before, when they first did their presentation, so round one of practice, they grab a screenshot of the rehearse with coach, so you can see their pitch, their tone, how many words they used, filler words, things like that. And then after a few practice rounds, maybe they were doing it at home, you do one final one before they actually present, and then you do the comparison. So they've got a before and after, and you have all this trail of practice and self-reflection that you can use for grading or for marking. The highest score. Oh, yeah. For sure. I mean, it's definitely a possibility to include it into gamification. Obviously, you don't want the highest score in terms of who can speak the fastest, but it could be an interesting way to do some sort of poetry, slam poetry, or any kind of way. I mean, it's up to the teacher and the educator, and even the students. They can flip it and use it in a variety of different ways. The thing I like the most is I used to work with a learning center, which is a special education class. And the biggest thing that they had was the anxiety of presenting in front of people. So with Rehearse with Coach and PowerPoint Live, by recording things, they could record their presentations at their own pace, and then submit them to me in Teams or submit them to me via an email. And then this way it reduces that anxiety. They use the headphones, they can hear themselves as well. And then obviously with some of the other accessibility tools that are built in that I know Mike is going to cover later, you can take that to the next level with PowerPoint Live. Okay, so PowerPoint Live in Teams, obviously it allows you to set up a live interactive slide deck for people to join in and out of the classroom, which we're going to get to in just a second. The option to see and read subtitles in your preferred language while speaking. So you can take a presentation from a presenter and translate it into the language of your choosing, and it does not change or modify the original slide deck as well. If you're on a mobile device, a tablet device, you have access to pinch to zoom so you can better see the slides. So no longer do you have to tilt your phone to the side or your tablet to the side to see all the slides. You can kind of pinch and zoom naturally, and it works flawlessly. It's a great duo for in-person, for hybrid lessons, things like this. So is Michelle there so that we can jump into the actual Teams part so I can show what it looks like within Teams?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, there's some feedback.
Okay, now that's going to work? Okay, good.
No, I can't because now I'm not.
Oh.
That's okay. These guys, I think, can hear us. Oh, anyways, Anton, we're dealing with this. Okay, wait. Now we've got two of us in the same room together. So we had some feedback. Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, maybe not. Mike?
I can hear you, though, if need be.
Technical difficulties may be solved. Anton, can you hear me?
Yes.
Aha, just a little farther away. We don't have the crazy feedback loop. Mike gets to hang out with us too, so he gets to see what's going on. Awesome, I'm here. What do I need to do?
Okay, so we need to see the Microsoft Teams meeting that we've created behind the scenes.
Got it.
Okay. Perfect. So you've got it up. That's the meeting that we're in currently. And what I will do is I'm going to share a PowerPoint. Well, actually, I'm going to share this exact PowerPoint with PowerPoint Live. Okay, it's going to take a few seconds. Okay, now it should go. Okay, I see it on your screen there, so that's a good sign. So we've got our slides. So from your end as a user, you can see the whole slide deck presentation. You should be able to, on the bottom left-hand side, go through the slides like normal. There should be no issues.
Oh, so I can control it? Is that what you're
That's
saying?
right. Yep, from your end, you can control my presentation, even though I'm presenting slide one. So even if I was presenting slide one, you could go through it as much as you want until, you know what? Let me just see here. I need to.
Don't take my powers away.
So what is suggesting is that I can create this and just allow the students to work on their own practice.
You would be, see, right now, Anton and I are together inside a Teams meeting. So you see those two icons over there? I could show my camera over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, so we're inside a Teams meeting together. He's presenting to me inside Teams, but I can either move ahead or if I miss something in this presentation, I can go back and look at it myself. Yeah.
That's right. So right now I've locked you back into my slide. So I'm the one that's controlling everything. So you can't go through it anymore, which is a good start. So just to make sure. But I have all my different tools here, which I'll go back to and I'll show. I've got my laser pointer. I've got my pen so that I can draw and highlight and annotate in real time while I'm doing something. I can highlight as well if I need to highlight an important aspect while I'm still instructing. Like I'm still doing my lesson, I'm still teaching, and I have all my notes and everything like that. But now, if I just clear, I'm just going to erase this whole little section here. If you go to the three dots and you click on that, where it says more actions, it should be in the bottom left there where the slides are.
Those three dots.
Yeah, click on that. So now you've got access to all this accessibility built into Teams. So you can disable the presenter view. So while I'm presenting in Teams, my face would be in that PowerPoint Live presentation right there. It's not right now because we're in StreamYard, but I would be there physically as a cutout in front. So that way you still see your students, you still see your audience, and you see your PowerPoint at the same time with your notes. You also have the ability to go through the slides in high contrast. So anyone with visual impairment, you can swap that. So you can go for it now. And now you've got that color contrast. And obviously the slide decks that was built for the Cobblestone Collective have perfect color there because it works on either one. Now here's where it gets really fun. Go to translate slide and change my PowerPoint presentation into French.
Ooh. Okay, should be in French.
So now if I'm gonna go to my next slide. Now my slide is in English, but your slide is now in French.
What? Just for me?
That's for you. It hasn't affected my slide. I can still continue to present in English or any other language that I would like.
And if I spoke Italian and I was part of this Teams meeting, I could have it translated to Italian.
You could
Or-
have translated to Italian, yes. So if you go through that list of,
So each user gets it accessible to them.
Oh.
exactly.
Wow.
So it does. So the
Oh, indigenous languages yet though, right?
no. So if you go through the list, if you click on the three dots again where it says translate, you have the list there. I think there's about 19 languages if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. That's cool. Very cool.
So it doesn't affect my presentation. I can still continue to present, but someone else can see it in their language of choosing, which is fantastic. I'm thinking about the possibilities of in-class. I'm thinking about curriculum nights with parents where you have a presentation and you put it in the language and then they can see it in the language of their choosing as well. Or if they're at home, if you're doing parent-teacher interviews from Teams and you're showing a presentation, maybe a curriculum night, you have this tool that they can translate your slides. It's not perfect. Obviously, the translation can be lost on certain things, but it is pretty darn good. I can tell you that. Okay, so let me go through. Okay, so we can hop out of that and go back into the slide deck here. Okay, and this is seamless. I like this. You guys are killing it. All right. Where are we at? There we go. Unfortunately, I can't translate these ones here, but so like we were saying before, you've got the ability to present content and have it still viewable by the audience. You've got the ability to present your slides or not, so I could take the rights away if I want to make sure that everybody stays on that specific slide so you have no students. Or, sometimes us as educators skipping through ahead just to see, I've already done this. It could have been an email kind of thing. You can lock it that way or keep it unlocked. You've got that high contrast as well. And of course, the annotative tools. So the laser pointer, the pen with different colors, obviously not just red. If someone's, visual impairment, you would choose a different color other than red or green, and just different annotative tools. So from my end, when I was presenting in Teams there, this is what the Teams actual screen looked like. So I had a bunch of things up there. I had the layout where I could share, or stop sharing. I had the layout section so I could see my layout a little bit better. You can see on the right-hand side, I have notes where it says no notes. So you can have your notes built into the Teams presentation as well. While you're presenting, you still see your slides. You're cut out in the middle of that little presentation deck, and you can still read your notes seamlessly, which I really like, instead of having a second screen where you read your notes. You've got the ability to pop out as well. So if you have two monitors going, so if you're a big fan of having two monitors, you can actually have your meeting with your presentation on one monitor and then have all the participants in that meeting in the other. So you still see everybody completely. And especially when you use Teams and you use the large grid, you see up to 49 or 50 people. Your meeting is set. It's great. Private view is where you lock down your presentation. So that's where, you don't want anybody skipping through your slides. You don't want anyone getting ahead if there's a special surprise or maybe a Kahoot link or something like that. You can lock that down and then still use the same features, your chat, see your people. If anyone raises their hand, it still gives you the same notifications, all that stuff. At the bottom there, you still see the cursor. You've got the the laser pointer, the pens, the erasers, and the highlighters as well. And then I added that little clip there where the 3 dots are the ellipses to show that you have the high presenter view the slides in high contrast, and obviously translate the slides, which we tested out there. Is there, yeah, shoot.
Those, as the Teams creator, you've got those tools. Does that have to be Teams desktop app, or is that also in the browser version if I'm the one creating the Teams meeting?
It works for both. So you have access for both. We tend to use the desktop app 9 times out of 10, but the browser app supports it as well. And that's where the browser app as well, when you're doing your rehearsal with coach, works the best with it. Gives you the seamless transition for both the body language and your rehearsal with coach part, which is great.
Oh, we have another question.
Yeah.
When they had COVID and they shut down schools, is this something that they would have used to teach the children at home? Because I know students had Chromebooks that they took home.
Right.
Did you hear the question, Anton?
I caught a piece of it. It's something about during the
During
pandemic.
COVID, if you would have used this, and I don't know if the features were there then, like I know some of these are quite new, but maybe you want to talk about Teams
Sure.
in your board?
From the beginning, okay, that's a loaded question, but I love it. I would say 2020 at the start of the pandemic, some of these tools were not available. You didn't have PowerPoint Live and you couldn't present your PowerPoint presentations as seamlessly as it is now. You could still present it by sharing your screen, but you had to share your full screen or your window. So you couldn't see the Teams meeting anymore. You couldn't see your notes. If you were sharing your screen with your notes, the students would see those as well. So this kind of put everything all into one seamless thing. I would say mid 2021, that's when some of these things came out, and that was the first to try to push it as well for some of our educators in the high school level. Whenever they're presenting PowerPoint presentations, curriculum night, the ability to just translate a slide instantly like that, between that and Immersive Reader, which I know you're going to be all over next, Mike, I'm sure. It's been phenomenal, especially the fact that you could record before. In PowerPoint, you kind of had to have a third-party application to record yourself, to have your face in the PowerPoint presentation as you're recording, because it's nice to listen to someone when you see them in the presentation instead of actually just hearing a voice over. So this was a big leap forward, to have yourself as a presenter cut out and still be able to present.
And then another part of the question was because a lot of their students have Chromebooks. So that's when I said that it works web-based as well, means that, yeah, this works on the Chromebooks too.
Yeah, we don't have any Chromebooks at our board. We have mostly Dell laptops, and they're all PCs, so it's all Microsoft. So our board went 100% into the Microsoft waters, per se. We're 9 Anglophone school boards in the province of Quebec. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, at least 6 are just Microsoft, and a few of them are kind of a blended hybrid or just Google. So. Okay. So it kind of went and jumped the gun a little bit here, but when I said, where could you use PowerPoint Live? Obviously, curriculum night, or any sort of night where you have to present to the parents in which English may not be their primary language. That's a big thing. Like, you've got your slide up there, you can present whatever you need. And then as you're presenting online, if you're maybe hybrid or in person, you can switch the language. If someone's following along with a laptop, Chromebook, mobile device, they can switch the presentation into the language of their choosing. Obviously, it's a little bit limited in terms of the languages, but they're working on it. Pre-recording a slide deck, super easy. That way they can access it at home for exam or test revision preparation. I know I did a lot of that where I would record myself doing, I did a few phys ed lessons, which I had to bury and hide because I don't want anybody seeing those anymore. But any sort of math or history presentations, when you're using PowerPoint, you record them, you leave them in the classroom Teams so that the students can access them on on their own end as well and at their own pace, which is a great tool. Obviously, it's a great tool for the students to create. They can share, offer student feedback and evaluation. We're going to test that a little bit shortly to show exactly what you can do when you turn PowerPoint Live into, skipping ahead there, into an immersive tool as well between hybrid and distance learning. So that's kind of some of the areas there. Is there any other ways we could think of that maybe we would use that kind of tool? I'd love to hear.
Well, I want to just go back because you could be the only person in your team's meeting, go through your presentation when you said, and have it recorded with all of your annotations. So is that like, that's just changing, like flipped teaching? We can create our lessons.
100%.
Tools.
You could even go a step further, give the topic to the students. So the topic of, some sort of history, math, science, whatever the topic is, give them the topic, let them create the slide deck in PowerPoint Live and PowerPoint Online, so they can do it from any device, doesn't matter where it is. I know that with Apple devices, you kind of have to download the application separately, individually. So for iPhone and I believe the iPad, you have to have Microsoft Word, Office, Excel, and PowerPoint as a separate app, but it'll still work within there as well. Give the students the topic, let them build and create that presentation, and then have them rehearse it, have them annotate over it, and then have that presentation be in the classroom. So then they flipped the instruction completely. So they did all the learning on the topic, and now they're instructing the class.
Yeah, that's cool. We have another comment here?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember I was telling you yesterday about recording some stories in the language. And so if we were to record that on the slide presentation, I can link the reading of it in the language at the same time, right?
Yes. And so this is how we're saying, well, we can have those Indigenous voices in there, but yes, it would be you recording them, but at least that's a great start. So I think that's a great idea.
I don't know if this was covered because I'm not sure. And it's completely separate from PowerPoint, but I love that idea so much. The reading progress tool in Teams would be perfect for that. You could preload an Indigenous language text in reading progress just by scanning it or uploading it, whatever you need to do through your computer. Then send it to the student on Teams, and then have them read it out, and then you could mark and see them actually sounding out the sounds as well, the syllables, all that stuff. How reading progress works is that it will find and match the words with the language, so it works really well in English and French. But for Indigenous language, what you do is just forget about that, focus on the student's face and the actual recording, and then go from there.
So basically, the educator can manually score what he's yet. I love this, and I think we should explore that more.
Yeah.
March is an Indigenous Language Month,
Okay.
and I've been prepping the students, to answer some questions, from the legal card that they'll be filling out. So I like it because it asks the question, what is your name? And they have to respond back and, give you their name. And I also have to say, where do you live? We'll talk about family, animals, plants,
Love that.
Yeah, so if I could teach them that, then they could practice and prep themselves, to answer
I see,
questions.
and I see exactly where you're going with this, Anton. I don't know reading progress well enough, but I feel like we've got a conversation that we're gonna have with Anton, and he's gonna help us figure out how to do this. So I think awesome.
For sure, because you could definitely still do it in PowerPoint. You could set up all your slide decks with the questions. Record yourself with slide one. They said, what is your name? Record the voiceover, and then slide two is where the student practices.
Nice.
So you could do that kind of back and forth as well, which would be fantastic. And then you're hitting 100% that vision statement of the school board, school district. You guys use district out there. So you're innovating and you're creating digitally fluent students and critical thinkers as well. So I think that's fantastic.
We've got some work to do.
Yeah, because I've been writing everything on the board,
Yeah.
yeah.
This will
And
be
then the
great.
teacher will take a picture of it and then.
Excellent. Awesome. Thanks for that inspiration, Anton. That's great.
Oh, no worries. That's what I was saying earlier, because I said this district and our school board are very, very similar. So I kind of I feel like there's some good collaboration that could happen between the two because we have a lot of similarities. So I like it.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. And this was kind of this next slide here, we kind of went through it already, but the tools obviously that you have in Teams, we saw them, we kind of went through them together. We said you could hide the presenter view so we could hide the actual person so you could see the full screen of the slides, the translation, and then obviously switching between the high contrast and low contrast. So this is just a nice little tool to go through that. That's okay. All right. What I want to do is I'm going to have to hop back into that Teams presentation. I think that'll work. Let me see if I go back in.
It's my view, right?
Pardon?
The student view or the non-producer view, yeah, my view of the.
Your view is the one we're going to go with. Yeah. And what I'll do, okay, is I'm going to, because I don't think it'll show up. No, I don't think it's going to show up exactly like that. But what I'll do, slideshow. Maybe I'll do it with a link instead, just so that I know for sure that it's going to work 100%, especially with a QR code. Let me get that up. I'll get the PowerPoint up. There it is. Okay. So I just have to make sure that it is shared with everybody and it doesn't get stuck. Okay, there we go. Right. Oh, did it get stuck in Teams?
So while Anton is doing that, so I know what's coming next, I think. So right now, I'm inside this Teams meeting with Anton. So I can access the slide deck, but I think Anton is going to show us some magic where anybody can access the slide deck, even if you're not inside Teams with them. I think. Is that what you're doing, Anton?
That's exactly what I'm doing, but it's there we go. I just had to change the permission to make sure that it shows up for everybody. And I'm going to grab the link. Copy link. Okay. And I'm going to, do I put it in the comments or can I put it in private chat? What works best here?
Put it in the private chat and then we'll post it over into the comments. And we'll have
Okay,
it
let's do that. There we go.
So, StreamYard magic, watch this. And then we go. Like
Oh, you got it.
this.
Okay.
So this is anybody watching this. So whether we've got these people virtually, anyone watching virtually, if you're watching the recording, it might not work, right? Because you probably get rid of access.
No, it's right now. It's still, the session is still resumed.
That's okay. I'm gonna go type this in and I'm putting it on my phone. As Anton mentioned, there is also a QR code that students could just take a picture of and it would zoom them right there.
That's right. I'm just gonna see. I wonder if I can get that
So
QR code. No, I can't. I can't share a picture. Oh, there we go. I see one person has joined my session.
That's me. I don't know, I don't think we have, you can join it on the desktop from over there. So whether you're on a computer, whether you're on a phone.
Yep.
We can all join this PowerPoint presentation together.
Yeah, if you could do it from the one that's on that you're sharing your screen or one someone so that they can see what it looks like. Then they could see the actual welcome screen. Actually, that would be pretty good.
Perfect. So I need to stay in the Teams, or I don't even need to stay in the Teams, do I?
That's right.
Oh, so I can get out of the Teams.
Yep.
And I put in that link.
That same link, and it should pop open. All right, perfect. So right now what's going on is you can see that there's annotation happening instantly. So you're in my presentation right now. This is actually through PowerPoint. I'm speaking and you're getting a direct transcription of what I'm saying, which is fantastic. And you can still change the origin of those transcriptions.
So it's asking me the code found at the top of the slide. What was it?
It's I think I put it in the private chat.
Okay, yeah.
So I see that 2 people have joined the session.
There we go.
So what's neat about this here is you'll see on the right-hand side, you've got that smiley face. So if you scroll on over there, so while you're presenting in PowerPoint, you can add those things. You'll see them kind of pop up there in the, well, I can see it on my end that there's a ton of things that are popping up as I present through it. Actually, let me go through. If I go to my slides, yeah, I can see there's some thumbs up going. That's great. Right now, I've just kind of switched to this slide here. You can go to the 3 dots right beside. There's a rating of the presentation at the end. Obviously, it'll come up after like that. And it gives you a full breakdown of the site. Obviously, you know, the design, how the speaker was, the comments, interaction with audience as well, and then a comment as well. So think about a student in class doing a presentation like this. The students can join in. I'm thinking about in my class, we had a few students with a bit of a visual impairment, so they had a dedicated device for them. So when I was presenting something up on the board, they had their device in front of them and they can see my slides. They can go through them. They can translate them. They get a live transcription, which they can listen to with their headphone if they need to. And they don't have to ever look up at the board and strain. I believe there too, you can actually change the language. So where the little X, you might have to close that part there. And then on the left-hand side, there should say, it says English.
Yeah.
So you can select the language there.
Okay.
There's a decent amount of languages, but we can pick French if you'd like.
Go.
So as I continue to speak, you'll notice that it is translating my English words into French. Is it perfect? No. Could it make for some funny interactions in a classroom? Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna test it. Now you have to speak in French to us, and I'm turning it to English.
Bon, c'est pas de problème ça de parler en français. Vu qu'on est au Québec, c'est obligatoire de parler en français. Est-ce que ça change la langue en anglais?
That's awesome. That's so cool. And it's great because you speak so quickly and it's very like Quebecois French, but if you through it's like, oh my goodness, yes, you can understand. Does he speak French?
I'm looking at it and it looks like it missed a few things, but it can help for those things. And maybe I was speaking a little bit too fast. If I slowed it down a little bit and pronounced a little bit better, I think we probably would have had a pretty good hit on that one as well.
Yeah, I kind of love that you spoke so quickly because it picked up a lot of it. And I didn't pick it up myself with my limited French.
We're kind of like testing it. We always like to find the bugs and things. So we were able to do this for one of our presentations. We had a pedagogical day where we had a French-speaking orthopedagogue. Oh my God, I'm trying to think of the word in English. An OT, occupational therapist?
Yep.
Okay. And she only spoke in French, but we wanted it to be direct translated as well. So what we had is we used Microsoft Teams, had her with a microphone, picked up her French, translated it right into English for the teachers that needed it. So I'm gonna end that session, and then I'm gonna jump back into that presentation. All right, Perfect. Man, this is seamless. I love it. You guys are awesome. So where did I go to get this kind of QR code and set up here? Well, I went into that slideshow section, and then where it says present live. So it's kind of in between, it's sandwiched in between present in teams and rehearse with coach. And then you just select only people in my organization if I'm working within my school district or school board, or anyone in general, which is what we did today. And then you can present. So students who are at home can present their PowerPoint presentation to the class, and then the class can be on their device and give them live feedback as well, or even after feedback. So you've got that reflective piece as well. So we saw that there was a spot for them to rate their classmates. So, okay. And this was a little bit of a more detailed view of it as well. So you could see, obviously, telling us more. So how are the slide designs? If you're using PowerPoint, there are some pretty awesome ways that you could set up your slides, having animations in the background or views. So was it like a 1 being maybe not so good and 5 being excellent? How the speaker skill was, if they maybe were a little bit shy and they didn't speak very well, or they were really quiet, can't hear them. Those kind of things like that, you can give that kind of rating. The content, how good was the content? And then obviously the interaction with the audience, and then any other comments. It links with Microsoft Forms, so it's completely anonymous. And then the presenter gets all this feedback on how to change maybe the presentation, how to tweak things, and no names are there, so it's fantastic. So the last thing before we finish up there, and if there's any questions or something that I missed, obviously the accessibility tools in Microsoft 365 are near endless. These ones here that we focused on was high contrast, the fact that you can navigate through slides. So if I went through my slides too fast, you can go back, take a look at certain slides as long as I've had that enabled, catch up on something. If I missed to take a note on something, I think back to high school and taking notes on the board and being so stressed about those kind of things. No more. If you leave that open, they can go through it and at their own pace. The direct translation as well, just that added comfort to reduce that anxiety for some of the non-English speakers, non-native English speakers. And of course, our transcriptions, having that built in live right there while we're presenting it's phenomenal. And of course, there's so much more there. And I know Mike is itching to get into them shortly. So last but not least, we've got that additional resources section. We've got the cobblestone crates, which are curated, basically like pick as you go sections that are play and pause, which I love. And our educators, we've personally ordered a few of them from Cobblestone in the past, and they've been phenomenal. The fact that you can just get them started, work on something, stop for recess, come back, and then you're right there ready to go is just, there's nothing better. And then obviously the two biggest gurus of Microsoft, you got Mike Thompson and Kevin Stratford. They have some phenomenal videos that give you the one-on-one how to go through everything in Microsoft Teams, Microsoft related. And then obviously lastly, the Microsoft Teams Guide for Educator. That's been our starting point since the pandemic. And then our inspiration for creating a Teams Guide for our educators as well. And I see that Mike in the chat as well has put the Windows 11 section for the Cobblestone Collective. So just packed with resources here.
Maybe I'm gonna hijack this for a second.
Go for it.
These Windows 11 crates, so as Anton mentioned, we have these crates, asynchronous resources. We have just developed an entire series of Windows 11 crates in English and in French, and you can find them. That link we just put in the chat, and you're gonna make a nice day. What this is, so we'll scroll down and show you. My screen's a bit squishy, but that's okay. So each of these crates includes 4 different activities, and if you scroll down, you'll see we've got accessibility tools. So that's our next session coming up. The productivity tools there, that PowerPoint presentation, that's exactly the type of coach that Anton was telling us about. Although there might have been takes since then. But then, of course, it goes into some OneNote features as well. specifically designed for Windows 11, but a lot of the stuff also will work on Chromebooks. But these are all free thanks to the Windows 11 team, and so definitely check those out. Okay, back to you, Anton.
That actually worked out really good that you covered those as well. So I really like the layout and the build of that. So that's pretty much the end of this presentation. So I hope that, we got a little bit fit. We moved around a little bit. We strengthened our muscles with rehearse. I've been waiting to do that the whole presentation. I'm sorry. For the rehearse with coach and our PowerPoint live presentation. So if there's any questions, comments, I'm here. En français aussi, c'est correct. Ça me dérange pas.
Using a Chromebook would really make a big difference in the teaching the language. Because right now, as I just started working at Yellowknife just last year, she had helped me create a calendar, and I had to print out the days of the week and the months. Any word that I wanted to teach them, I had to print out, and that was how I was using it. But I see that there's a smart board, in the classroom, and I'm not even using that. And I thought, gee, I should be using this, which would make, teaching a whole lot easier.
That's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially when you pair PowerPoint and you pair any of the Microsoft tools with the smart TV or the BenQ TV, depending on what you're using in your district, they're phenomenal between the two because you can kind of control it as its own device. If it's the new smart boards or the new BenQ boards, it's like its own computer. So you can have that running individually, have your normal computer going through all your daily tasks so you're not connected between the two, and then have the students come up, annotate on it. Like that's the best part, is having students come up and annotate on the PowerPoint right there in front, or even from online, right? Like if you're sharing this online and there's students jumping into your session online, they can annotate too. If you have it set up with some of the smart boards, you can do that as well. So it's just the possibility is really endless.
So the PowerPoint that I can click on in the end will be just you printing it, right? The information. I was just looking at that a minute ago. But this one here, this program would allow me to talk right into it.
Yes.
And they can respond back, right? Only
If they're in the team's policy, they could.
Yeah,
Yes.
they
Or
could.
they do the coach. The coach will record them.
yeah,
And there's lots of different possibilities now, digitally.
I can see that now, yeah. Whereas the other one is just, me showing a slide, one slide at a time with a word maybe.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, that's exactly it. So between using rehearse with coach and rehearsing their whole session, or just getting a screenshot of how they did at the beginning to end, just having that reflective piece between the two, it's a lot of fun and the students enjoy it.
Great.
The stories that we have could be recorded, could be on here.
Yeah.
With somebody, reading along.
Yeah, and even pre-recording them in different languages, even if it's not transcribed, you'd still have them too. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
exactly it.
Just looking at the time, Anton, I think we're going to wind down. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you for
And
having me.
yeah, fantastic. Michelle, anything you want to add? Did we go through feedback form?
Oh, there's a feedback form.
Yeah.
Yes, those if you're watching, let us know how we're doing. Anton and Mike, thanks for letting me finish this as a student. I kind of took over a little much, but hey, it was fun learning.
It was great. I can't wait to go. I don't use PowerPoint, but I've seen the accessibility that they've done now as well. And I mean, it's just full of so many good tools. So I'll be playing around with this for the next week or so.
It's reverse for me because I don't use Google. So it was nice learning something new about Google, I got to say.
Yeah. Okay. Enjoy the weekend.
All righty. Have a good one.